Prototyping is hard. Hello everybody, welcome back to your weekday weekend. The last video I did was about CAD basics, but I wasn't really happy with that video because I did a lot about Alibre design specifics and I didn't really know enough about other CAD softwares to provide good help when it came to those. I did cover some basics, but a lot of it was do your own research for your own CAD software. Well, you're trying to, and you're finding my video instead of one that actually helps you. So with this video, we're actually going to look into Alibre design specifically and what a standard workflow might look like and what it's going to look like when you first start the software and things you might want to look at and change if you're coming from a different CAD software or if you come from other productivity software and want to get Alibre set up how you like it, as well as how to design your first part, of course. So we're going to go on in and we're going to double click Alibre design. Now, when you first open Alibre design, it's not going to look quite the same depending on which version of Alibre you have. First off, your recent files is going to be empty like this, and you might not have as many buttons under create new depending on which version of Alibre you have. You will always have the create new parts, you'll always have the create new assembly, and you'll always have the drawing button as well. Now, we're going to also look at the Explore tab. If you need some help with Alibre, you want to look at some of the documentation or videos or anything like that, maybe check out the forum. There's links to all of those helpful things right here in the Explore tab. If you want to check out information about your machine and your license specifically, click the Utilities tab. We're going to go back to the Home tab and I'm going to click Create New Parts. It's the big blue L-shaped icon. When you first open Alibre, it might look something like this. Or maybe something like this. Before we get going any further, let's configure Alibre to work how we want it to work. Firstly, this color palette, as you can see on my face, is a little hard on the eyes, especially when you're working in a darker room like this. Let's see if we can't get a dark mode going. Up here in the top right, there's this button here. It says color palette. If you hover over it, go ahead and click that. We're going to do dark mode. Give it a second and it's going to fix itself. There we go. And I'm going to do File, System Options, and we're going to do Color Scheme. If you click Scheme, there is a dark background scheme and a very dark background scheme. One of those might work well for you. However, I also created my own, which I'm going to click on now and go ahead and use that one. But you might like one of the others, might work better for you. You also might want to look at the Parts and Assemblies subsection and do Design Viewing and check out some of these options for how Alibre is going to look. Maybe one of those works better for you and your situation. Maybe you need some thicker lines to help you with your eyes or something like that. Or you just want to make it look like a different software you're more used to. Same thing with the Sketching button. Go ahead and change the size of the constraint labels and the sketch nodes, which are like basically your points, to how large you'd like them. Also, decide whether or not you'd like to display a grid and snap to it while you're sketching. Next up, let's go to the Keyboard Shortcuts tab. There's a lot of subsections here. First one you're probably going to do is the Part Editor, and then go to Sketches at the very bottom. Give it quite a while to populate all your options and look through some of these and see which ones you want to add a keyboard shortcut for or modify. Just a quick tip, if these are empty, it doesn't mean there's no keyboard shortcut, it just means it's the default. And the defaults can be viewed in that Explore tab in the launcher. Let's go over some of the keyboard shortcuts you might want to assign if you're used to a different CAD software so that you can make Alibre work better for you and be a little bit more familiar. There is a circular slot tool and a straight slot tool just to really easily create slots. You might want to add a keyboard shortcut for that. There's a convert to reference figures and a convert to regular figures option for keyboard shortcuts. You might want to add a keyboard shortcut for that. That's your construction lines, construction geometry, things like that. Project to sketch, your use tool to use a face or a line from a different part of the model in your current sketch. You might want to do that. Trim, your trim tool, trim figure, you might want to assign that. You might want something for a reference circle or just a reference line in general rather than converting to one. You might want to assign the regular polygon tool, which will automatically create things like pentagons, octagons, things like that, hexagons. You might want to assign the rectangle by center tool and the rectangle by two corners tool, things like that. Maybe your circular arc and your and different versions of it. Circle tool, line tool, all that kind of stuff, dimension tool, That's all kind of down here towards the bottom. Vertical constraints, horizontal constraints, symmetric, concentric constraints, coincidence, midline, all that kind of stuff is down here towards the bottom. As well as the select tool itself, which I've actually put on tilde. And of course, an activate sketch button. After you've gone through all those, there might be a couple other ones that you might want to look at, particularly as far as features. So go to the feature tab. Let that load all the options because there's a lot of them. And you might want to do things like generate the last feature and then refresh the part, which is why I did F5 for that. You might want to do things like your fillet tool or your hole tool. Your booleans, you might want to add something like that. Your thin cut and your thin boss might be something to assign if you use those tools often. Your sweeps, your revolves, and your regular extrudes, as well as the cut versions. I think that's about it for features. If you use surface features a lot, you might want to assign some things to that too. For me, that's it for keyboard shortcuts. Let's go to mouse interaction right quick. This is how I have my mouse set up. It's not the same as default Alibre. I use the same as some slicers out there. But the presets are there, as well as Alibre's standard presets. Either get familiar with the standard or create your own, depending on how you prefer to move around in 3D space. We're going to click OK. My color scheme is going to solidify, and we're going to get started. I'm going to try to use the ribbon here, the tools up at the top, rather than keyboard shortcuts, because I did just tell you guys to assign your own keyboard shortcuts for what you're familiar with. It doesn't help if I tell you what mine are if yours are different. Anyway, we're going to click the Activate 2D Sketch tool. If you have a keyboard shortcut for it, go ahead and use it. I'm going to click that, move our mouse, and it's going to tell us at the very bottom left what it wants us to do. Select a reference plane, planar face, or a sketch to proceed. We're going to click on the XY plane, as that is going to be your print bed if you're doing something for 3D printing. That's going to be right on the print bed. You're basically modeling right on it. And you can click the reference cube up here to get normal to your plane, which, by the way, the keyboard shortcut for that is under part editor view, I do believe. Yeah, here we go. You might also want to assign some things here, like showing constraints, toggle your sketches on and off, surfaces, annotations, stuff like that. Show and hide your planes and axes and points and all that kind of thing. And of course, orient to sketch plane, that's your orient to normal, and zoom to fit, that kind of thing. Let's go ahead and do a rectangle by center. Now, if up here at the rectangle tool, there's the arrow down, rectangle by center. And if you click on the origin and drag out, you can see that Alibre is waiting for an input. So you see that number on the bottom is highlighted, waiting for you to actually type a value. So let's go ahead and type 100. And then you can hit tab and it's going to go to the other one. Let's go ahead and do 72. And then we're going to go ahead and horizontal constrain this. Here it is up here at the top. And we're going to go ahead and horizontal constrain that. And then it's ready to extrude. So if you have a keyboard shortcut, you can do that. Otherwise, you're going to have to click deactivate sketch and then the extrude button right here. We're going to change the type to mid-plane extrude, and we're going to give it 56 depth. And now we have a good rectangular prism here. I'm going to hide my planes. If you don't have a keyboard shortcut for that, then you can go up here to the View tab, and basically everything that you would ever want to turn on and off in a CAD software is here in the View tab. You might want to turn on and off ground reflections, or model shadow, or ground shadow, or anything like that. Or turn on or off anything like that, then go on ahead. There's also this section over here for all of your reference things like planes and points and all that. I actually have my planes key set to turn off all that kind of stuff as well, just to really clear up my design space so I don't have anything in my way. You can come back over to the model tab. And let's go ahead and do something else, shall we? Let's do Activate 2D Sketch, and let's click on this face right here. And I'm going to orient myself to the face again. This time I'm actually going to use some geometry as a reference. There is a Project to Sketch tool right up here on the top left. I'm going to just click this face. I'm going to tell it I want to make the whole thing a reference figure and maintain association to source entity. That means it's going to automatically constrain what you just projected, rather than making it all unconstrained, because you might want to project something and then tweak it a little bit and then constrain it that way. But I'm just going to tell it constrain it all, maintain its association, and there we go. Now we're going to go ahead and do a arc. We're going to do the regular arc tool should give us, yes, so we're going to click on the center of the arc, center point, and then we have to click and then click again where we'd like the arc to start and stop. You see it automatically snaps to my lines here because I created some reference geometry, which is why I did that. We're going to go ahead and snap, and then it is waiting for input as well, like you can see, and we're going to save some time by doing that. We're going to type 25, press enter, and then we're going to drag our mouse and click there at the top, and it's going to do the rest of that for us. We're going to click right there at the top, and it completes our arc. And it automatically adds that dimension because we typed it in. We're going to do L for our line tool and finish out this shape. There we go, and it's all black, which means it's fully defined. As you can see in the bottom right here underneath my camera, it shows me what all the colors mean. We can also do the same thing on the other side, but this time we can manually use the dimension tool if we'd like. I'm going to just go ahead and draw the whole shape. Basically, this time we're going to properly use the dimension tool rather than using that time-saving method of just typing in the size as we go. That is a very, very nice feature of Alibre. You can just type in the dimension as you're making the shape. It really saves time. But if you're kind of doing this more traditionally, you might want to just draw your shape and then press D for the dimension tool, or indeed whatever you set, or press the dimension tool right up here on the toolbar. I'm going to go ahead and click this arc and set it to 25. Or I can go up here and use a constraint. My equal constraint is up there. I also have, but we're just going to equal that and that. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and deactivate my sketch and click extrude. If you have a keyboard shortcut, you can skip that step and just skip right to the extrude itself. We're going to do another extrude boss, of course, because that's what we pressed. If you wanted to do a cut, you could do this option over here on this side. And we're going to go to depth, and we're going to do, let's do 22. There we go. Let's go ahead and add some fillets. Click the button up here on the top on the toolbar. Set a radius for your fillets. I'm going to do 2.5 millimeters. That's fine. And then let's just do, let's do here. Let's do here. Do I want to do like this? Yeah, let's do like that. That's fine. Automatically create some nice rounded edges. Let's click OK. Let's actually do Control Z to undo. In Alibre, you actually have some options to make fillets and things a little bit faster. If you open up the fillet menu again, and you're going to show all edges. If you go to the View tab, there's shaded and visible edges, and then shaded in all edges. I recommend setting a keyboard shortcut for that, because in Alibre you can actually use that to select things a little bit faster. I have it set to 5. In fact, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for how much shading and edges I want on my part. So if I'm in the fillet menu again, I can go ahead and just select that edge, that edge, that edge, that edge, that edge, and that edge without even having to rotate the part around. Let's go ahead and hit apply. Let's show our planes again. If you go to the View tab, you can toggle all your references or individually toggle them on and off here. We're going to create a new sketch. We're going to do it right on the XY plane. So if I click Activate 2D Sketch and then click on the plane, I can start my sketch. You can click here where it says Front on this reference cube to orient yourself, or indeed you can just press a keyboard shortcut, as I've been saying, and it will orient and kind of fit to the screen as well. I'm going to hide my planes as well. Again, that's in that View tab. Now you can actually skip that extra step of clicking the Activate Sketch button. If you know what tool you're going to use first on the new sketch, you can just press the keyboard shortcut for that. So if you know you're going to start with a circle, or you're going to do a rectangle, or whatever it is, you can press that and then click on your face or your plane, and it will jump right into the sketch menu and right into that tool. Anyway, we're going to do a circle. We're going to click on the origin, and we're going to do 42. Because we clicked on the origin and we typed in our value, we're already fully constrained, but we could do that a little differently if we wanted to. We could click here and click there again. Now we have a fully undefined circle. We can use our dimension tool to set that to 42. And we can coincident that with the origin, just like that. That's the dimension tool here, and the coincident constraint right here. Let's do a cut. Go ahead and do deactivate sketch, and then this extrude cut right here. And then I'm going to do a midplane as well. And we're going to go ahead and do, let's do 30. And you can't see anything because, of course, that's in the middle of everything. So let's go ahead and do inspect, and let's get ourselves a section view. If it doesn't really matter right where your section view is, go ahead and show all your planes. Again, you can do that with the view tab and take a look at which plane kind of bisects where you want to take a look and activate that plane. So as you can see now, we have that massive cut in the middle of our shape. And if you want to see specifically, if you want to move it around, you can with the mouse just by clicking this kind of shaded section view here and move it around just like that. Turn that back off up here. Now, if you want your section view in a very specific spot, you can do precise section, and it's going to ask you which plane you want to base it off of and how much of an offset you want. Let's do 2.25 millimeters, and it's going to do that just like that. If you want it the other way, you can just click reverse before you hit apply. Now we've done that, but how do I make that go away? We can right click it over here on precise section views and uncheck view, or we can just delete it. To uncheck and recheck and view, that's just turn it off and on, but I'm just going to delete it because I don't need it no more. Let's go ahead and add a new sketch right on the top here. Orient ourselves to that plane. We're going to use our circle tool. We're going to click right on the origin, and let's use the dimension tool up here again, and let's do 60. Nah, it's too big. Let's double click on that we just did, and let's do 42. Same as that other one. Great, but actually, I wanted a reference figure. You can use your select tool in the top left, click on it, and press your keyboard shortcut, or in fact, you can just right click and do convert to reference figures. And now it's a reference circle. From here, let's do a circle tool again. And let's go ahead and if you hover your mouse, it's going to give you that little red line that tells you your vertical with the origin. Let's go ahead and finish that off and use the dimension tool to make that 4 millimeters. And let's go ahead and tell it that we do in fact want that vertical with the origin. Our vertical constraint is here. Please use a keyboard shortcut. And now we're all fully constrained. Now, let's go ahead and do an extrude cut. We're going to deactivate and use the extrude cut. And we're just going to bring that down like minus 16, right? Now, I actually want a whole bunch of these. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to go up here to the top and use circular pattern. I'm going to click on the feature in the feature tree, extrusion 5. And I'm going to give it a center. We're going to show and hide all of our planes. Again, you can do that in the view tab. I'm going to tell it my center is this axis right there. Now I have a bunch of them. I actually want more. How many do I want? I don't know. Let's do 20 of them. That works. And there we go. We have 20 of them. Now you may be noticing at this point that every dimension that I've been doing is actually labeled. If I go into this sketch here, right click it and do edit D10, D11, what is that? Well, in Alibre, you can click up here and do equation editor. And it's going to show you every single dimension that exists in this model, every single one. And it's because every dimension you set in Alibre is actually a variable being assigned. You'll see that this, for example, the C1, that's a count. That is the number we've used for the circular pattern. But all these D values, that's all of our dimensions. So if I regenerate my part, you can see that there's 20 of them there. If I do the equation editor and change this one to 16, and I change this D1 to 90, press OK, it's going to update. Let's go ahead and undo that. Should be back to where we were, and we are. Now, you can see that in mine, I am actually showing those dimensions, like I said. Yours might not have that by default. Let's see where that's at. Because that's extremely powerful in Alibre, and it's worth knowing which dimension you're modifying in that equation editor. So it's actually under Properties. If you go File, Properties, and then Dimension, Show Equations. And that is going to show and hide this D10, the dimension markers. And it should keep that for every new part after, but if it doesn't, then this set current settings, this default settings for parts, sheet metal assemblies, check that, and then press apply, and you should be okay. Side note, if you want to change how dimensions look in Alibre, this is where you do it. And again, you can set the current settings as default if you like it. Hey, future me here, just piping in to show you exactly why that's super powerful. That is because you can use those D1, D2, D3, whatever, or indeed angle values, which normally goes A1, A2, etc., or whatever other value in that equation editor to make other dimensions. To keep your design parametric, if you want this dimension to always be 2 times D1, it will be, or D3 or whatever. Just use a multiplication, the star for multiplication, use that slash for divide. You can do plus or minus or whatever. You can even do 2 times open parentheses 0.75 times D1, close that out, and that still works. Even better, I can open up this equation editor and rename any one of these dimensions if it's really important. So if I just double click D1, I can rename it main, press enter, and then all of them change so that D1 is now referenced as main. So you can rename things so that future you knows exactly what you're looking at in the equation editor. We're going to regenerate so that we see the whole part, and let's keep going. One of the last things I want to show, because it's something new in Alibre and I think it's super freaking helpful, is 3D modeled threads. So let's go ahead and activate a new sketch. Let's go ahead and click on this top surface again. Let's orient ourselves to it. Let's go ahead and click and drag out. Let's use the shortcut again and just type in a value, maybe 28. Press enter. Because we use the origin as our center, we're fully constrained because we typed that value. It skipped a whole bunch of steps for us. Go ahead and do deactivate sketch and just click extrude. And we're going to do 16 here is fine, actually. Go ahead and click OK. And now you can do some external threads. It's in the hole tool. You click the down arrow there, external thread. Give it a second to load, and let's do this edge right here. As you can see, it's made us some threads, but that's not quite right. Let's go ahead and do them for the entire 16 millimeters. There we go. So if we actually want these properly 3D modeled, we have to choose a standard. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's just do a ISO fine standard. Size, we're gonna go ahead and do 28. Under type, we're gonna increase that pitch because if we want this 3D printed, that's a bit small there. So let's do maybe 28 by 3, which is quite a bit larger. That looks like something that maybe could be 3D printed. Let's go ahead and do modeled. And then form, we're going to do minimum material, which is the loosest tolerance, which again, for 3D printing is the best bet. If you want something that's the best for getting a weight value or something like that, you can do average or nominal, which will give you closer to a perfect weight calculation, because that'll be closer to what the actual design should be. That'll be closer to what the actual standard is. But now we have some actual proper 3D modeled threads. And I think that's it for now. I think that's a pretty good introduction to how Alibre works. We have kind of a funky looking part here, but you know what? I think we learned some things, and I think we learned some things. So, thank you so much for watching. Remember, on my channel, every day's a weekend. Remember to click subscribe, click like on the video if you liked it. Check out the Discord down below. Maybe check out weekdayweekend.net/workshop if you'd like some more CAD practice with no ads, no sign up, nothing like that. Completely free. Just learn some CAD. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time, next weekend. Bye.